There's something very fishy going on at West Ham at the moment. Something very highly suspicious. 3-0 win and a 4-0 win, back to back. We don't do that. That is very un-West Ham-like, I must say. It felt very familiar when we went on and played Tottenham and we conceded an early goal, and then another goal, and then another goal, 3-0 down. This is very much like it, West Ham. And I won't have been on my own in thinking that it was going to be 6 or 7 or worse. I've got to be honest. I will be honest here. And I know it's a little bit dramatic, but there was a point in the game where I thought, I wonder if they could break the record. And I started questioning myself what the record was. Was it Man United beating Ipswich 10-0 or so? I wasn't sure what the record was. Might have been 9-1 actually. But I started thinking about it. But there's something about this West Ham team. And this is what I mean in as much as it's very, very fishy. Because there appears to be some un-West Ham-like qualities. Number one is a resilience. Now, we, particularly not in recent years, have been known as a resilient team. I'll give you a little story. Years ago, when Liverpool were sweeping all before them, and we were labelled with the Academy of Football, all the Liverpool coaches all used to sit around in something in Anfield called the boot room. And I remember the press making an awful lot about us going up there and basically putting the Academy of Football stamp on Liverpool. I think we had Brook in and we had lots and lots of good players at the time. And apparently, so the story goes, somebody, maybe Roy Evans or Ronnie Moran or someone like that, went into the Liverpool boot room and said, apparently they're calling themselves the Academy of Football. Anyway, Liverpool went out and beat us by quite a few goals. Anyway, obviously it was a fantastic time, but it did sort of go to highlight what West Ham were, which is an excellent footballing team, but the reason why we've not ever won the league are probably quite easy to spot. We don't really have that resilience over the course of a season. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting we're going to win the league. Far from it. Times have changed since then. Times have changed since we finished third. It's now all about money. But there's still something there's some reward for doing some of the dirtier jobs, like running, like grafting, like heading, like crossing, and like having a magnificent team spirit. Because make no mistake about it, David Moyes got that horrendously wrong at the start of the game. It really was evident that his 5 at the back, or whatever you want to call it, that had served him so well against, I thought, Arsenal, certainly against Wolves, and certainly against Leicester. That was not the formation to be going in against Tottenham. The defensive line was too high. Myself and Gio had discussed it in the preview that really Harry Kane would drop deep, he'd try and play a ball in for Son to run in behind, and so it proved. There was a one-on-one race between Balbuena and Son. Son won. They scored a goal. In many respects, our defenders are not quick enough to play that. So I was looking at it and you're thinking, you've got this wrong, David. You're going to change it. You need to change it now. We didn't change it. And it was 2-0. And it was 3-0. But what was it that made us come out in that second half and play a lot differently? Because whilst all the goals were scored, our comeback was from the 82nd minute onwards, something like that. The second half was very different. We played a lot better. In fact, we finished the first half quite well indeed. But there's got to be something. There's some resilience about us that makes us carry on, that makes us keep going. And if we're not careful, we're going to start getting the, unlike West Ham reputation, of being a tough nut to crack. We've always rolled over and had our tummies tickled by a lot of teams. We've always had the ability to beat big teams in a one-off. Of course, we didn't beat Tottenham, but on the back of the Wolves result, on the back of the Leicester result, who were two very good teams, to do that against Tottenham, who I am quite sure are going to be a good team this season, is very resilient, and it shows, dare I say it, a bit of consistency in the way we're playing. But this sort of mirrors the post-lockdown form, of course, where the first game back against Wolves was pretty poor. Thereafter, we showed some consistency. Even in the game we lost against Burnley, we shouldn't have lost it. We had a lot of shots again yesterday. More corners than Tottenham. More shots than Tottenham, not more on target, but nonetheless, we attacked. This is not something that we were particularly expecting from David Moyes. We expected him to be organised. We expected him to be boring, if anything. Yet, yesterday he did something that was very un-Moyes-like. He used his substitutions and he impacted the game. Well, this is very, very odd. Because I'm aware that... I mean, I've always... Look, Moyes wasn't my choice. He wasn't the choice the first time around. Wasn't my choice the second time around. However, I got behind him pretty quickly because I quite liked what I saw. Because I think this club needs stability. I mean, massively. Almost more than anything else. That's what West Ham need. We need something quite solid and quite reliable, which is stability. The stadium move has not been good. Forget the logistics of it, but actually just... I don't mean the logistics. Actually, don't know. Think of the logistics of it. Just moving stadium is unstable. It brings instability. It's a change of scenery. At the same time, we don't move training ground. It's more instability. We didn't change manager from Bilic to Moyes, to Pellegrini, to Moyes. The director of football comes in, director of football goes out. We lose our best player in Payet. He goes. We bring in another guy, Al Nausfitch, our best player. He stays for a little bit. He goes. Massive turnover of players. Some being loaned, some being purchased. Just generally massive instability. Backroom teams changing. It's not just when one manager goes. The whole coaching setups are going. The scouting setups are going. So David Moyes may not be Pep Guardiola or whatever. But he is a stable manager and he is somebody that wants to be here. He wants to be at West Ham. That much is evident. You would have to have a heart of stone. You would have to be the most anti-Moyes fan out there not to be warmed by him running down the touchline when we scored. We didn't score. You and me had nothing to do with the goal. When Lanzini scored that goal. These are precious, joyous moments that we really should enjoy as West Ham, and we will. But I do think there's something else going on. Not revolution, but a slow evolution. I remember comments from Stuart Pearce, this is before he even had his first stint as a coach at West Ham. He was asked about West Ham on TalkSport. He said there's something funny about that club. He said, I don't know what it is. He said there's something just a little bit flaky about West Ham. He said, I don't know what it is. He even joked. He said, I think West Ham might be cursed or something like that. He said, there's a good club under there. He said, but there's something not quite right. And I've got to say, I completely agree with him. I really, really do. And I think maybe what it takes is somebody solid, somebody reliable, somebody consistent to come in. And realistically, that person should have been Sam Allardyce. But I think what we thought we were getting in Sam Allardyce, we didn't quite get. I think you may well find that we're getting it in David Moyes. Because Sam Allardyce was almost too full of himself. Sam Allardyce didn't really want to be at West Ham. Sam Allardyce felt he was doing us a favour. He was too arrogant. He wanted to be somewhere else and cupping his ear to the fans and all the rest of it. You get the impression David Moyes is a humble man. He's pleased to be here. He doesn't say anything inflammatory, even when you know the owners have probably completely cheesed him off. He still doesn't say anything derogatory, doesn't rock the boat. Slowly but surely, he builds a backroom team behind him, and he starts to construct a solid team. None more so evident than I thought when Lanzini won, to see, as Gio pointed this out on our player ratings video, he pointed out he saw Fornals, who had already been taken off, just celebrating, running down the touchline, celebrating. I also noticed Masuaku was there. Masuaku had also been taken off. These are people who clearly feel part of the squad. I mentioned it in a video previously as well, that I think it was the Leicester game. Mark Noble came on as a sub very, very late. And he didn't have the look of somebody who was really annoyed that he was only going to come on for 3 or 4 minutes. He had the look of someone that was pleased. He was laughing, he was joking, he ran on, he took the armband. I'm not sure about that, by the way. We'll talk about that another time, maybe. But anyway, he came on, and it just looked like a unified squad. It looks like everybody is pulling in the right direction. And I think we're suddenly starting to see it on the pitch. I thought Spurs defended fantastically. Forget the last 10 minutes. Every cross that came over, every block, every clearance, they were doing lots of them. It wasn't all Tottenham. I thought they'd give us a whooping in that first half in that game. I really did. And I certainly think they would have taken their foot off the pedal a little bit. But that's what happens in games. Nobody attacks for 90 minutes. Games ebb and they flow. Yet I still felt that we were attacking. But it's a very West Ham-like thing. We were, in many respects, the winner was a West Ham-like goal. It was full of flair and it was full of flamboyance. But actually, if you look at the way we played, if you look at the two guys in the middle, I actually curled my lip up when I said that. I don't dislike Declan Rice and Souček. Not at all. I love them. But what does Souček bring? Lots of running, a great engine, and a heading prowess. It almost gets to the point where I think he's just going to score goals and he's going to be scoring goals at the back post. And if things ain't going well, that option is always there. I bet they're drilled in coaching. If he gets to a certain point on the pitch, hit it at the far post for Thomas to head it in. What was Declan Rice do? Well, Declan Rice is an interceptor. Declan Rice is a stopper. Can he pass? Yes. But he's not Thiago, is he? Let's be fair, right? So by and large, our central midfielders have characteristics that you wouldn't necessarily associate with West Ham. They're not Ian Bishop, right? Not Eyal Berkovic, these two. And if again, you look at the rest of the team, look at Mikel Antonio, an absolute workhorse. And you find yourself looking at the players with like Bonner and the likes of Jared Bowen, and you're dealing with running, you're dealing with work rate, you're dealing with tackling, you're dealing with heading, corners, set plays. All that, crikey, I've just described Tony Pulis, haven't I? This is what you're dealing with West Ham. But I don't wish to damn us with faint praise, because I think on occasion we do have the ability to play some decent-ish stuff. I don't think it happened in this game, by the way. I think this game against Tottenham was crying out for someone to put their foot on the ball and cut them open, because for large parts of that game, Tottenham weren't bothered by the corners, they weren't bothered by the set plays, they weren't bothered by the crossing, and they weren't bothered by the heading, because in people like Sanchez and Sissoko and Dembele as well, they had some really, really good players who were happy to head, block, tackle, run all day long. But we are not always going to play teams that are as well drilled as Tottenham. We really won't. We're not going to face too many teams that sit back in the way that they did and play on the counter-attack, than that have that threat up front. We may well play teams that do defend, but they won't have the threat in Kane and Son and people like that Tottenham carry. And I'm pretty sure later on in the season, we'll look back on this result as quite a good one. And you look at it now, and if you can, just cast your mind back to the start of the season, certainly when the fixtures were announced. And we thought, oh, crikey, look, it's Leicester, it's Wolves, it's Arsenal, it's Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool. There were people saying after the first 7 games, we may only have 3 points. Some people say we may have none. And you can understand that, by the way. I was no different. I was having a bit of squeaky bum time when I saw the first 7 games, certainly. People were saying, well, Newcastle must win game. Well, we didn't win it. But again, something's happened. We will find ourselves, by the time this is finished, even if we lose our next 2 games, we won't be in the bottom 3. And that is absolutely amazing. And we'll look at the fixtures that coming up, be very West Ham, to then go and lose to Fulham. But what if we don't? What if we then, having had these wonderful results, go and beat Fulham? You have to start looking and start thinking, I'm really enjoying what the manager's doing at the moment. It might not be the prettiest football, but I do think it's the football that we need. I think it's easy to want other managers, to want other things, but I just do believe, firmly do believe, at the moment, what West Ham need is stability. We need a regular style of play and something that can give the players belief. And make no mistake about it, what we saw from West Ham, comebacks like that, off the back of the results against Leicester and against Wolves, will make the players really confident. There's one thing I know. There's one thing I do know. I don't know which day they're going back, be it, I guess it is Monday. Maybe they'll have the day off. But there's one thing I do know: the day they do go back to training, that training ground will be a very, very happy place to be. Everybody is going to have a massive spring in their step. He's gonna Lanzini's gonna walk in there like the king of the world, isn't he? Let's be fair. He's gonna strut. Yeah, Manuel Lanzini's the name. Scoring worldies is the game. He is going to be very, very pleased. We'll deal with Lanzini in a separate video later on this week. And, you know, we got a lot to talk about. And the wonderful thing about results like that is we can continue to start to feel really good about our team. And I'll tell you what, I'm a bit of a Moyes fanboy. I really am. I don't think he's, as I say, I don't think he's Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp or anyone like that. But they weren't interested in West Ham. A lot of the people that we sort of fawn over are not interested in West Ham. I've said it a few times. There's only two people interested in West Ham. It's David Moyes and Chris Hughton. We've got David Moyes. And quite frankly, I'm grateful for him.